I want to make sure that I do cover this with the seriousness that it demands. In the 5 o'clock hour, I played this audio. I'm going to play it for the folks just jumping in here in the 7 o'clock hour because I do believe that it is important. Where if somebody is running for the 7th Congressional District, that they not actually hate the region that they're supposed to be serving. But this is audio that was dropped last night. At some point, Greg Price, he works for the GOP. I don't exactly know what he does, but he dropped this audio of Aftyn Bain. Of course, you know, she's running for the 7th. We are in the middle of early voting right now. And apparently back in I guess this was in 2019, she was recorded. I don't know if this is on a podcast. I don't know if this is during some sort of a secretly recorded conversation. But this is Aftyn Bain talking about how she hates Nashville.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
So she hates
all
the things that make Nashville great. And listen, it's not the only, those aren't the only things that make Nashville great. But here's the thing. Like literally, that is part of her district. I grokked it. So if you're standing in front of Tootsie's, All Red, Jason Aldean's Bar, or any of the classic honky-tonks on Lower Broadway, you are in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District. And she purports to hate it. Can you hate something and fairly represent it at the same time? I don't think so. I mean, let's be honest. Lower Broadway and all of the bars and all that kind of stuff, that is a huge job provider in Nashville. That is a huge place for people to visit. And for her to say that she hates it, she's hating a major engine of Tennessee's economy and Nashville's economy.
Yeah, I'm that girl at the airport that all these bachelorettes are giddy walking out in their two-toned colored Pantone pink shirts. And they walk out and they're like, oh my God, Nashville is so bad.
They're so loud.
So that is Aftyn Bain. And again, I don't know if this is secretly recorded or what it is. I'm trying to find out some context. But there is no context that makes that good. Because if you're having somebody that hates part of what she represents, well, then how do you know that she's going to be fair when she is representing, that part of Tennessee's 7th Congressional District? Because if she hates it, then how can you trust that what she's going to decide is going to be best for that particular area? And I don't know why you would. I know that there's a lot of people that would say, well, it's kind of, if you're local, I think this is true. Joan, is this true? Sam, is this true? So if you're a local, it's kind of hip to say, well, I hate Nashville and I hate the country bars and I hate the pedal taverns and all that. Is that kind of a hip thing to say if you are a native Tennessean?
Not hate.
Yeah, I don't think.
Not the word hate. But
like, is she talking like a native Tennessean? She's from Knoxville. Is that something that you can excuse as a native Tennessean saying?
I feel like the only thing in there that would be excusable would be the bachelorette parties because of how excessive certain things, aspects of it can be. Mm-hmm. That would be the only excusable. But country music and the bars, the things that generate taxable income and revenue in this town. Now, luckily, I've pulled up the official map.
Okay.
So luckily, that area of Broadway does not fall in the district, but the portion of Davidson County that does, according to the comptroller's office, pretty much spans from the border of Cheatham and Davidson to the bottom border of Robertson. And so it's basically West Davidson County is in that 7th Congressional District, which would still influence Broadway and the happenings and everything, of course.
So one of the things that she's going to have to answer for is, okay, so do you really hate Nashville and country music and the bars and all of these revenue generators? I'm going to play this one more time.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music, I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it. Yeah, I'm that girl at the airport that all these bachelorettes are giddy walking out in their two-toned colored Pantone pink shirts, and they walk out and they're like, oh my God, Nashville is so bad.
They're so loud.
Judgy much? So I don't know.
Well, she's never been a bachelorette, so.
One of the things that I would ask is, she's from Knoxville. So if she doesn't like Nashville, she can go back to Knoxville if she so chooses. But I hope somebody asks her about this audio. She won't come on this show, but I'd love to talk to her about it. But I guess Matt's been trying to get her on too. She just, once she started running for office and she had some not so great interviews with Matt Murphy, I think they realized that, it's probably best to, for Aftyn Bain to stay off the conservative station where, they're going to ask her actual relevant questions and she won't have the answers. And instead she'll just, portray herself as a really cute socialist, which is basically what happened. So we'll have to see if this is, the thing is, I think that the people who are going to vote for Aftyn Bain, I think that they don't care. Like, they literally don't care about anything. Policies or some of the things that she has said, some of the things that she have done. People just don't care. They are voting strictly down party line. And so then I was trying to figure out what exactly has Aftyn Bain actually done for a living. I want to compare and contrast Aftyn Bain with Matt Van Epps. So early voting is in the 7th going on right now. Okay, so you look at her resume, and she's been a community organizer for years. You look at all of this. She grew up in Knoxville. She's been an activist all her life as well. She was a community organizer, campaign organizer for political organizations, and campaign director for another political organization. So I understand that people say that she's a social worker. My question would be, and maybe she has, I just don't see any indication of it anywhere where she actually, worked down in the trenches as a social worker. And I hope that she has. But my question would be, okay, so have you ever been someone who has tried to either start a business, run a business, give people jobs, create jobs? You know what it's like to, meet a bottom line, these kinds of things. And I mean, Matt Van Epps, obviously we all know about, his campaign has been a good one where they point out the fact that he graduated from West Point. He's a helicopter pilot in the military, working within Governor Lee's administration as well. So that is a man, I'm just going to say, who is accomplished. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know what Aftyn Bain has necessarily accomplished.
So I grokked her resume, and I by the way, found a better congressional map, and downtown is included in the 7th. Okay. So she's bad-mouthing the very district that she wants to represent. Okay. But according to Grok, her resume starts at the Tennessee Justice Center, nonprofit, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, as a consultant. That was when she went to Switzerland for that. How fancy. Indivisible, senior regional organizer for Kentucky and Tennessee, supporting grassroots power building with a focus on rural Appalachia and the South. Okay. It's never been, when I hear social worker, I think you worked for DCS or you worked for the State Department. You go into the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. You're dealing with people who are, they've got kids, they don't have the money to pay the rent, those kinds of social worker things. And I don't know if she's actually done that. I don't know if she's ever had just a regular 9-to-5 job. According to what Grok can pull, it's all been highfalutin nonprofits. Highfalutin nonprofits. All right. It is
Isn't that the Obama way? I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah. No, Joan, you're right. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of correlations between Obama, who, of course, he was a senator. But, you have a lot of correlations with Obama. His resume, he was a community organizer.
That's it. That's all he did.
And he's the one that screwed up health care for everybody. People on the YouTube chat are chiming in, screaming about Aftyn Bain, which, by the way, if you missed earlier in the program, Matt Murphy left me an inflatable turkey here in the studio. So I walk in, the entire studio is dark with the exception of this turkey, an inflatable turkey. So if you, hopefully you can see it on Super Talk TV. And part of me wants to unplug the turkey, but I'm not exactly sure if I should. I have, though, not so affectionately named it Aftyn. Is that okay, naming it Aftyn? I don't know what Murphy Show apparently probably has his own name for it.
I'd like to put a sticker on it that says
Aftyn.
Aftyn.
Okay.
I can prepare that.
Could you,
yeah,
Joan?
I could
That'd
do
be
that,
great.
sure. Yeah.
People on the super text line, also on the YouTube chat, saying that Aftyn Bain was never actually a social worker.
Yeah, Cindy Spence on the YouTube chat. Miss Cindy, thank you for that. I'm assuming got some insider baseball there that, nonprofit work doesn't mean you're a social worker.
No. Nonprofit work means, oftentimes what nonprofit, there's two types of nonprofit workers. There are people that are truly doing it because they want to help people. And then there's others who view nonprofit work as a way to enrich themselves, i.e. the Clinton Foundation. And they're also political activists. Because, remember some of these NGOs, you can call those nonprofit, of course, but they get all kinds of grants and funding. And oftentimes that money ends up either right back into the pockets of the Democrats or it's utilized to bring in a whole bunch of illegal aliens into a community. So, the world of nonprofit, I know that, there was a time, I guess, there was a time in this country where you looked at the world of nonprofit and wasn't it like, oh, nonprofit, you're giving back to the community. The world of nonprofit is not that anymore. Maybe some organizations and maybe some people, but by and large, nonprofits these days and non-governmental organizations and that whole world, a lot of this stuff is just a scam, just an absolute scam.
I was going to say when the internet adapted to the speed of finding facts, they were quickly exposed for skimming off the top in the majority of nonprofits throughout America.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's see here. TB says, I think that Murphy Show named the turkey Huckleberry. I don't know why. Maybe is that a literature reference? I don't know.
Huckleberry, like Huckleberry Finn?
I don't know. But apparently this turkey was a big deal on the Murphy Show yesterday. And I can see why. Can I be honest with you? I actually like it in here. It's not as lonely in here. Because, you folks, if you don't know, if you're listening on the radio, I'm just in a box. And Sam's over there across the glass, and Joan is two plates of glass away. And so, the turkey makes me feel a little not as alone here in the in the air chair. It does get lonely. That's a chint. That's a hint, Joan. You got to talk to me more. That's your gent. All right, it is 7:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7, WTN, and people are also saying that he named the turkey Dan. I know for a fact he did not name the turkey Dan. People want to see the note that came along with it. By the way, Dan, your 5 a.m. guest, got here early, which is the note that Murphy Show left me. Joan.
Yes.
So I know that this Nashville judge, is it a her? I think it's a her. A Nashville judge in all her infinite wisdom blocking the deployment of the National Guard in Memphis.
Memphis, yes.
Frustrating, of course. We're seeing legit results in Memphis.
Yes.
We're finding lost children. We're preventing crimes. Literally, they're saving lives. And now this judge has decided to block the deployment of the National Guard. And so one of the questions that you would ask is, okay, so what about all of the progress that has been made? And why exactly is it that the judge is deciding now, a Nashville judge deciding that she can block the National Guard in Memphis? And the funny thing is, when there is verifiable, clear evidence that the National Guard and all of these other law enforcement agencies that are working in Memphis is actually helping to clean up the streets.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
So
what were the latest numbers, Joan? Do you remember?
Let's see. It's not in this article that I'm reading here.
I mean, it was like they found like at least 100 kids.
101 children that were missing are now rescued from wherever it was that they had been stashed. It's a horrible story that needs to be unfolded. Like, that story needs to be told in full. Also, that it was the mayor of Memphis, a councilman, commissioners, State Representative G.A. Hardaway, Gabby Salinas, State Senator Jeff Yarbrough. They are the ones that are stopping this. They want to stop the National Guard from helping this effort. Now,
let me stop you right there, Joan, because as important as your opinion is, Joan Jones, the time of Senator Marsha Blackburn is limited. She is joining us on Super Talk 99.7. Senator, always great to have you on. And Joan and I were just talking about the incredible results that we've been seeing in Memphis. As a matter of fact, here's what I'm seeing. I just got sent this to me. 2,930 arrests, 395 illegal firearms seized, 105 missing children have been found, and 144 gang members have been arrested. Yet, Senator, here we are with a judge blocking progress towards safe streets in Memphis.
And people in Memphis are so supportive of having the task force and the guard there. The polling shows that 63% of all Memphians are appreciative of what is being done. Crime is down 50% in Memphis. And you're right, 2,900 arrests. Those include murderers, rapists, people that abuse children, aggravated assault, robbery, carjacking. You've got the guns and weapons that have been seized. You've got 350 cars that have been recovered and 116 missing children. And these children have been returned to families, or if they can't go to a family, they've been moved to state custody. But the point is, Memphis is safer today. You look at these numbers, and that violent crime rate being down, the carjackings being down 60%, assault being down 60%, and you know that Memphis is safer. I was in Memphis on Friday, and every person that I talked with expressed their thanks. I talked to business owners that out at night. I talked to someone who said they had been back to Beale Street 2 times to see entertainers they wanted to see. People like the fact that kids can play in the yard, that they can ride their bikes. Parents are very pleased for this. Memphis, we are determined it is going to be the safest city in the United States. And, the other thing, too, is we want to make certain Memphis is the model for how you move forward and how you break the crime cycle that is going on in some of these blue cities. From the police chief, the Memphis mayor, and so many people that are involved in this. They're grateful that these federal agencies are there, and they're grateful that the federal agencies are hard at work. And it is a concerted effort.
It is a concerted effort, and I think that, just speaking for myself, I think they're doing a great job. These judges will have blood on their hands if they are able to, and they're managed to, as they want to, extricate all of the law enforcement in these cities, not only Memphis, but you can talk about Chicago and the rest of them. I think clearly, Senator Blackburn, our side is on the right side here. Did I actually hear that you wanted to file a resolution commending the Memphis State Task Force?
Yes, indeed. I went to the floor yesterday with a resolution to commend the Memphis Safe Task Force and the participating agencies and the National Guard, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, all that are involved in this. And the Democrats actually had Chris Murphy out of Connecticut come to the floor and object to that. I said, so you are objecting to having Memphis be there to say, we appreciate 2,900 arrests and illegal weapons being removed and children being found and murderers and rapists being apprehended. You're objecting to this. And, you know, Dan, I will say this too. Mike Donovan, who is the U.S. Attorney in the Western District, he is really doing a solid job getting these cases assigned. You know, these firearms cases and carjackings and things that can be tried as federal crimes, much of these felony offenses, they are taking them on. And what you have seen is the Department of War and Secretary Hegseth have sent JAG officers to help with these prosecutions. You're also seeing lawyers from ICE and DHS that are in Memphis backing up the U.S. Attorney. You also have U.S. Marshals from around the country. And Gotti Seralto, who I did one of my Unmuted with Marsha podcasts with a couple of weeks ago, he has U.S. Marshals there working with Tyrese Miller, who is the U.S. Marshal for the Western District. And this is their emphasis, is to put this model in place and say, working as a team, we are going to break this crime cycle that Memphians have wanted to see broken. We're going to make certain Memphis is a safe city.
Senator, a couple of other things real quick. Of course, everyone knows you were on the forefront of wanting transparency with the Epstein files. And, of course, here we are with the House and the Senate and Donald Trump voting to and signing these to be released in 30 days. Are you happy with where this conversation is now with the release in 30 days, given the fact that there is another investigation that is now ongoing that may end up with some of those documents being held back?
I know that there were conversations about redacting the names of victims and making certain the victims were not harmed. And as you know, I've worked on this issue of the sex trafficking and human trafficking for quite a while. And my team and I've met some of these victims. We don't want them to be harmed. What we do want, and I will say this is not about celebrities and salacious headlines to me. This is about finding out who was working with Jeffrey Epstein, who was bankrolling this. You know, Dan, human trafficking is now $270 billion a year business, and it primarily affects women and children. And breaking apart these human trafficking, sex trafficking rings, and then bringing these people into court so they can be prosecuted. And this is modern day slavery, and it has got to end. And we've done a tremendous amount of work in this space. Yesterday, I spoke to a coalition that is working globally on this. We talked about my Report Act and my Prince Act and the End Child Trafficking Now Act that have all been signed into law, and they're helpful in breaking these cycles apart. What we have been missing is those financial documents from Jeffrey Epstein, who was kind of the kingpin of all of this, it appears, here in the U.S., and connecting those dots so that we can break this apart and end this. And I am very hopeful we're going to be able to get those financial documents, and we're going to be able to move forward to protect women and children and to see these so many of these individuals that have been caught in this trafficking, to see them rescued and to become survivors and to go on to a productive life, to be thrivers.
Absolutely. Senator, last question here. Of course, a lot of people asking about the $500,000 provision for senators who had their data breached in the continuing resolution. Of course, a two-part question, if you can. Number one, did you know that provision was in the continuing resolution? How did it get there? Number two, were you surprised by the blowback?
For me, this has never been about money. This is about getting justice for what happened with Arctic frost. And I didn't write it. I didn't put it in the bill. It ought to come out of the bill. It ought not to be there. And removing it's the right thing to do. What we've got to focus on is the harm was done by Jack Smith and Arctic frost in that CR-15 unit. And every single one of those people need to be held to account. And of course, you're going to see a lot of investigations. You're going to see hearings. You're going to see subpoenas. We're trying to get Judge Boasberg, who signed 197 of these subpoenas against 430 groups and individuals. And quite honestly, I want to find out what all they got, other than my cell phone records. Did they go after text? Did they go after email? Did they go after financial documents? This has to be held to account. And it was Jack Smith, it was Arctic frost, and we've got to get to the bottom of it. It gets bigger, deeper, wider every single day. And I want to make certain that these people are prosecuted. I want Jack Smith disbarred. He ought to be in jail. And people that were in that CR-15 unit with him, they need to be prosecuted, disbarred, and they need to be in jail. It is the worst weaponization against a group of conservatives, against a political opponent. And what they did to Donald Trump, to his family, and to conservatives, we have to make certain this never happens again.
And we'll leave it there. Thank you, as always, Senator Marsha Blackburn, for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And let's see. So she said that she didn't know. I think she said, I'd have to go back and look at the tape, listen to the tape. I don't think she said that she didn't know that the $500,000 was in there, and she said that it should come out. That's one of the big things that because I asked for her to come on and talk about that, among other things. And I think there was a lot of pushback. Both Bill Hagerty and Marsha Blackburn came out immediately. It was almost immediately, wasn't it, Joan? Where they came out and said, no, we don't want the $500,000. No, we were just kidding. So
that is the most bizarre thing ever.
Yeah.
And would she have signed something that she didn't know was in there? I
don't know. It was slipped in at the last minute, they say. Yeah. So, but they came out and they said they don't want it. So all you can do is take them at their word. But, for me, I think the bigger, broader point is that, number one, to make sure that our senators and our congresspeople are not spied upon by the opposition. That's number one. But, at the same time, you look at what's going on with, we talked about this at the time, the people from January 6th and how they had a lot of their records absconded with and their data absconded with, and they ended up in jail. And so there's a lot of people that were saying, well, the senators get this protection, but everyday people don't, which is also one of the big reasons for the pushback against this, with the $500,000 per issue. And so it could end up ultimately being $500,000. It could be $1 million if there was another instance where they took where they tried to find other parts of your communication. So each instance. And so somebody could clean up, but they took it out. I don't know. I kind of felt like it was just a big never mind. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they realized that they got caught.
Dumb move.
And it was a dumb idea.
Yeah.
So, and I see that. Should have been in there in the first place. And, to your point, with Senator Blackburn, she said, didn't know how it got in there, and it shouldn't have been in there. She signed it, but now she is one of the first to come out and say that she not only will not accept the money, but that does need to be taken out of the legislation. Although I think didn't it stay in? It stayed in, but now they have
to strip it out.
They've got to strip it out, and Mike Johnson is taking care of that. So that's what they're working on now.